If you said to someone, "Have you played that spectacular two-player Reiner Knizia game?" Many people would respond with, "Which one?" No, really. So it would be no small claim to say that Bitewing would suddenly drop on us a contender for Knizia's best two-player game ever. Now imagine if they dropped two. Bitewing just launched their Mythos line, a series of two-player strategy games with mythological themes. The first two titles being Iliad and Ichor from Dr. Reiner Knizia. I'm going to look at each quickly individually and then discuss the traits they have in common. Keep in mind that a lot of the components you're seeing are the upgraded ones throughout. Iliad is game number 1 in Bitewing's new Mythos line, and there are a lot of elements here that feel very Knizia-ish. And fans of his older designs may pick up on a sense of familiarity with some of the aspects of this game. I mean, we got a lot of mathy tile placement on a checkerboard, so what do you expect? That being said, every turn you play one of two tiles in one of the squares of your color. Classic Knizia simplicity in what happens on a turn. But the decision process is immense. You're going to manage your tiles of varying power levels with their own various abilities in order to win the rows and columns to get first choice on the tiles that cap the respective line. All with the purpose of set collecting various colors, trying to gain positive points and avoid negative ones. The game has a couple levels of Knizia scoring cleverness, in that you have to have at least one of each of the 5 god tiles, or 4 of them plus the 2 marriage tiles, to even be eligible to win. If both or neither players have, then you go by the highest of each color, plus minus the other scoring tiles. The fact that every game of this is so incredibly different because of the variety in the setup options, there's an insane number of combinations for the tiles around the board and for the first 4 tiles that you place out there. Not to mention the then chance in the tiles that you draw into your hands on any respective turn. It makes every play of Iliad interesting and thought-provoking, as you're constantly trying to factor out different strategies and approaches each passing turn. Overall, the design is just so smooth and implemented in such a satisfying way. The usability of the production is great because even the different tile abilities represented by the symbols on them make a lot of sense. I think this is a problem with a lot of games, that sometimes the symbology can just leave you really, really wanting. Something as simple as the tiles being colored so you know which one moves your own tiles and which one moves your enemy's tiles, or the shape of the tiles that are being exchanged are obviously the ones that border the board. There's just so much attention to detail in the production, it makes an already great game awesome. What I keep thinking about this one is that Iliad doesn't just come onto the scene as this is a great game and awesome in and of itself, but it's also filling a bit of a gap for me. Because I believe this is what I always wanted certain other games in Knizia's catalog essentially to be. Games like Atlantean, a few other of his games, retaining the aspects of those games that I enjoyed, but finally implementing it in just near perfect package. It also delivers on kind of that smoothness and elegance of a lot of modern two-player games, that at moments it gives me the energy of games like Blitzkrieg, or even lane battlers like Knizia's own Schottenton, or other ones like Rift Force. And that every turn, some plans that you laid may go awry because of what your opponent did, while always having a wealth of opportunities of what you can do on your turn. And you never feel like you have one wasted. It just delivers on being incredibly balanced, just a joy to play, and wickedly addictive. Iliad just feels like the game I've been waiting for. But it's not alone. Ichor, and goodness, I'm never going to be able to consistently say the name of this game. This game is number 2 of the Mythos line. It's an asymmetric strategic duel where one player plays as various gods and monsters out of Greek mythology. You're moving your figures across the checkerboard in a straight line as far as they can go, and you leave a trail of your checker-like tokens behind you. First player to get all their tokens out is the winner, and then run it back with the players switching who they're playing as. What obviously is a big factor in what makes this game shine is the numerous asymmetric player powers you get in this game. All of them feel delightfully game-breaking and ridiculously overpowered, which is exactly how it should feel. I think it's a hallmark of a game that does that right. If you have powers or asymmetry or whatever in a otherwise basic, straightforward game, they should make you feel like whatever they allow you to do is ridiculous, while still maintaining the overall game balance. And if you do those things, then I think you've struck gold. And with Ichor, you have. And goodness, they're all so fun. You're going to want to use all of the powers, because it's like, hey, do you want to just be able to go diagonally when normally you can't? Well, yeah, now you can. Do you want to be able to teleport, or do you want to be able to leave one side of the board and come back in on the other side? Hey, you want to basically just take 2 turns and then die? The Cyclops has got you covered. you will be hungry to come up with strategies for each of them, constantly be thinking, oh, I found the broken mechanism in the game. And because two-player games often come with a really rich dynamic between the people playing, I think this game encourages a bit of a meta where you're constantly evolving your strategies. And it's funny to see how different they are from one person to another. Hey, Zeus might be great for you, but I kind of like Heracles. I think he's the best one. And listen, as the kids always say, Griffin power come in clutch.
I've heard literally every kid say that. Ayo, that Griffin power come in clutch. 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 Right, Toucan?
See? Shout out to Chrissy of the Dice Tower and the Knizia enthusiasts for that joke. Not only do you have that going on with the characters you play as, but also the Gates expansion adds some lovely shenanigans to the mix by adding interactable terrain that also does some game-breaking mischief by adding what feel like super OP abilities that, again, just makes the game so darn fun. Let's talk about some factors that both of these games have in common.
First, this may be obvious at this point, but the productions on these games, as are all of Bitewing's games, incredible.
The base games, as is, for both, are fantastic, and to repeat a sentiment I've said elsewhere, if that's the only version of the game you can or want to get it, because you don't want to miss out on these games in general, and it is 100% worth the experience. However, that being said, some of the upgraded game pieces are absolutely sublime, and if you play these and realize they're gonna be hitting the table a lot, kind of like what happened with me, you'll know which aspects you want to trick out, as I think certain component upgrades are definitely going to be a taste thing at the end of the day. For instance, upgrading the tiles in Iliad feel like more of a necessity than getting the little display model or even getting the tokens in Ichor. Each their own. They're all wonderful, but some may feel more necessary than others. But the games aren't just eye candy. Something else that these games have in common is their speed of play. Despite the fact that both offer ridiculous numbers of options of what to do on your turn, neither one encourage AP, and often turns are really quick. And thus, the games themselves are going to be really quick, and I think often end up shorter than the time allotted on the box, which is unusual and kind of welcome. Both end up feeling pretty zippy, while simultaneously feeling like you're delivering a classic abstract epic. Now, speed is one thing, but that doesn't really mean much unless the game draws you to play it again, right? And in the case of these games, wow, they both sure do. Both have that chip-like quality that I recently mentioned in another video. Having the you can't eat just one, or in this case, you can't play just one game of it, energy. You'll immediately want to run both of these back. The insane amount of possible starting layouts and combinations only skyrocket that sentiment into the stratosphere. For example, I love the base abstract concept of Ichor. I think it definitely needs the special powers, but the moving pieces and leaving a trail of your checker-like pieces in and of itself is really satisfying. That being said, knowing that every single time I play this game, the layout of the figure will be different. Which figures we're playing as will be different. The number of figures will be different. The figures your opponent gets and the order of those could be different. And if you're playing with the Gates expansion, the terrain could be different. You could have alternate win conditions thrown in there. Apparently, there are over 50 million possible setup combinations. That's just outrageous. But all of these are key factors of these games begging you to come back and enjoy the experience that is simultaneously fresh and familiar each time. Now, let's get to the heart of the issue here. As far as whether either of these is Knizia's best two-player game yet, that's going to depend on you. Your mileage may vary because each of Knizia's classic two-player games and these bring something special to the table. It's going to ultimately come down to taste. But for me, I confidently will say that these are two of the best two-player only games that I've ever played, period, much less just out of Knizia's catalog. I don't often play games so much when I get them so quickly. These are setting new records for me personally. And that's something I don't say lightly because we've been spoiled with some amazing two-player only games as of late. And I think both of these over time will cement themselves at the top of the list for me. But one of them may be hitting the very top. We'll see. Throughout the many plays since getting these games, I have swapped back and forth repeatedly over which one I enjoy better. That's how close these are. They're constantly one-upping each other. Almost every time I play one of them, it outshines the other. That's why playing these so often and so close together has made it difficult to give any proper ranking to them. So I'm going to give you my gut feeling at the moment. I would give Iliad a 9.5 and Ichor a 10. And that is subject to change a little bit, maybe with a little wiggle room to grow. I'm already sweating their placements when it comes to ranking the top games of 2025 and our top Knizia list that we're doing at the end of the year. But bottom line, if you like tense two-player games, ridiculous levels of replayability, clean, quick, abstract strategy games, or all of the above, do yourself a favor and check out these games. The link to them is going to be down below. Thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them down below as well. And remember to always play board games like an animal. But the games aren't just eye candy. Something else that the games have an option. Have an option?